Great.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you.
Done. You're welcome, honey. Perfect. Okay. So I'm going to backtrack and cover some of the overall structure of this class and how it fits into the larger series of practical sigilization. This is the class for the sigil of 4. So the sigil that we'll be creating today will have 4 lines in it. And those 4 lines can be 4 lines just like that. They can be 2 and 2. They can be lines that are squiggly. They could be lines of any size or configuration. Start appearing on the skin after being used a few times, not where it's strong. Okay, this is interesting, and we'll talk about this at the end of class. Amina, your question in the chat.
Okay.
Yeah. So sigils are, we can think of them as a drawing of something about our intention to manifest. Now, the work of the class that we're doing today is more than just manifestation magic, right? There are many kinds of magic that we do. I don't just want to teach about manifestation magic. I want to teach about other kinds of magic as well. And the magic of today is really what I want to call orienteering. Now, orienteering is a technical term for using maps and geo coordinates to in a wilderness or in a terrain you don't know, navigate and get where you want to go. So let's kind of put that in the same context as magic. Up, we have Ksenia. I can hear you. Is that correct with your name? Well, we had Ksenia. I think we still do, but we may have a bad audio connection. Okay, so it sounds, Ksenia, like we have a bad audio connection. If you could please just confirm in the chat to either me or to everyone that you are here for sigilization, practical sigilization, then I'll go ahead and continue with the class. If you're here for another class or have an expectation for something else, like Amina has specific questions she wants to ask, you can certainly ask specific questions in the chat. If they relate to sigilization, practical sigilization, then I will answer them at the end of class. If they don't relate to that, then I'll wait until this class is over and recording is stopped, and we can go ahead and take a look at whatever your inquiry is and find out who your best resource is to get an answer. Is that good? Divination chat that she's here for sigilization. Okay, very good. Awesome. Okay, all right. Okay. Good. Okay. So we're gonna move on then. All right. Here's how these classes work. Just having issues with audio. Sounds great. Here's how these classes work. There are 13 of these classes. The first class is really just an orienteering class, or it's really just a orientation class that helps you understand the techniques that we're going to be applying through all the rest of the classes. And the second class, we cast a sigil of 10, having 10 lines. The next is 9 lines. The next is 8 lines, 7 lines, 6 lines, 5 lines. We've gone all the way through all those. We're now at the sigil of 4 lines. So, and each of those sigils has had a different sort of focus and certainly a different intent on the part of each of the practitioners who have attended the class. I don't tell you what you're doing and then you do it and go home and then come back. completed. That's not really how this kind of process goes. I generate a container for you to pour your own magic into, and then you go home, do your work, and then either come back or don't come back. That's up to you. If you come back, you'll come back with 3 journal entries for every sigil that you create. Here's kind of the practical of how this class works. And that is, we start with a blank piece of paper, pencil, okay? And we go 1, 2, and this creates 3 panels, 1, 2, and 3, okay? On the other side of this page, we're going to create a sigil. This week, it's of 4 lines. So all you have to do is put 4 lines on the page. But these are lines that should in some way speak to your aesthetic. They should somehow represent for you an aspect of what you want to manifest through your magic. And they should also be like eerie, creepy, beautiful, otherworldly, something. They should trigger the possibility that you can stare at them for long periods of time in fascination, maybe even horror, maybe even elation, maybe excitement, but they should incite you to like be intrigued by them, okay? And what you'll do is you will cast your sigil, and we'll talk about casting in a bit. The next day you'll journal, then cast on the next day, and then journal on the next day, and then cast on the next day, and journal on the next day. And you can use these columns, or you can use additional pages. It's up to you. I usually use a Word doc on my computer. That way I have like all the room that I need, and I can copy and paste it. If I want to get more complex, I can use like some kind of a editing app like OpenOffice, their version of Word, or some maybe a spreadsheet or presentation software, so I can drop pictures and other media in there along with narrative elements and weave it together with my own understanding of how did my casting of my sigil go, and did I find in my life the next day and the day after synchronicities, correspondences, reminders, revisits. Did the emotional tenor of the casting come back? If it did, what is my context? Can I capture that in a journal entry? Right. So for each of these classes, all 13, after 4 will be a 3, there'll be a 2, there'll be a 1, and there will be a casting of a sigilization of 0 lines. It's actually a point. And with each one, you'll wind up with 3 journal entries. At the very end of the class, you take your journal entries, you put them together in a presentation for the rest of the attendees of the class. I call that the Best of Big Chief. And it can be anything. It can be multimedia, it can be a dance, it can be a song, it can be another sigil, it can be a narrative, it can be anything that you want to present to the rest of the group who went through this same series with you, and that encapsulates the work or manifestation or the mystery that unfolded for you in doing the work of casting this sigil. Okay. Now, the casting itself, how does casting happen? Precious. How does casting happen? So when you cast a sigil, what you want to do is you want to dump a lot of attention and intention into the lines, just the lines, mama. So this is what I prefer. There are 2 methods that I teach. I teach box breath for those people that are either asexual or non-participatory in a sexual process, and then the sexual technique. We'll cover the sexual first. In a sexual technique, you can either have actual sex with another other, or you can have like self-love, masturbation. During that process, you want to hold in your mind's eye a vision of the sigil that you created. So in my case, because I'm having a nice little moment with tentacle rape and really want to meet Cthulhu these days, then I'm going to emblazon on my awesome tentacle monster somewhere this gorgeous sigil that I created. And I'm going to keep that through the masturbatory process all the way to the point of orgasm, at which point I release all of the intention, attention, merit, energy, life force, breath of the orgasm into the lines of the sigil that encapsulate my intent. And then release all of it, fall back, close eyes, breathe naturally, let go. Allow because you can think of it this way. Creating the sigil, putting energy into it is like writing the letter to God herself about what you want to see happen. When you have your orgasm, it's like sending the letter off through the mail. When she gets it on the other side, she reads it and says, yes, 1,000 copies of this in your life right now, please. Here you go, mama. 1,000 copies. And then all it is for us to observe the divine trying to create that dialogue back with manifesting these in our lives. That's the masturbatory technique. There's the box breath technique. So box breath technique is a box breath. It's an inhale and a hold, an exhale and a hold. And you try and make each of the parts of this inhalation, hold, exhalation, hold, an equal length in time. The way I do this is I peg it to my heartbeat. So I listen on my inhale, push all the air out of my lungs. And then begin inhaling. Hold. Hold. And inhale again and start the cycle over. Now, the intent of this is to store energy, bring in what all spiritual energy moves in and out of the body on is the breath. So what you're doing is inhaling spiritual force, life force, mana, energy, kronk, ankh, kepher, storing it in the physical frame, not integrating it, but holding it. So you keep doing this and trying to expand the size of this box breath and hold the energy, hold the energy, hold the energy, hold the energy. The way I do that is I visualize that my aura gets bigger and bigger and bigger and fills the room until it's so packed with power that I crackle and squirm on my inside with energy. And then just when I think I can't hold more, take in more until it's absolutely just my skin is tingling with so much excess mana. And I take it in one final breath and push it through the lines of this sigil. And it does the same thing. It delivers it to God herself. God herself says 1,000 copies of this right away. You got it, ma'am. Boom, 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 boom. That's the technique for sigilization. Okay. In this class, usually what we do is we set like a container, and I will give you some meditational touchstones or points that you can walk away with along with your sigil to kind of hone and narrow down and help define and sculpt your intent out of the sort of the rest of your magical work, or your, as I mentioned it to you, Amina, your occult exploration. What do I want to get back out of it? Okay. And sorry, I moved the screen and I lost my train of thought. I think we were gonna, oh yes. So the class materials, I present materials in every class. The class materials are merely meant to introduce you to a new way of thinking about using this very basic sigilization technique. So in one, we'll actually do like a Mancy. I think that's like 7, where you actually use your sigil as a divinatory tool. One of them, you use it to connect with your own sort of higher spiritual self, your God soul. That's 3. In one of them, you try and connect with the all. That's 0, the point. In one of them, you try and deal with your own personal power in the world and how much space you take up. That's 10. So each of these has like a sort of a direction and that is totally different and unique, and gives you a new way of thinking about how can I use sigilization in my own practice. The sigil that you create is your own, and the traction that you get from using your sigil and this technique will vary. However, with greater work on increasing your focus, attention, intention on the sigil itself, and repeated casting with observation afterwards, you'll get results. Whatever your results are going to be based on your talents, you'll get them. So yeah, this class, and I'm going to go ahead and share a screen. Right there. Awesome. And please let me know when you can see my screen.
We can see it.
Awesome. Okay. So this is actually stuff for Alex, but she dropped off, so I will cover that with her next week. So we're looking at this date does not apply. That was for the original series of the class, but I can delete that. We can still look at this. Orienteering, that's right. So one of the things that I want to, this is a pain in my butt. I want that little thing out of the way. No, I want it out of the way. Sorry, I keep trying to get this camera thing like, there we go, off my screen. Woohoo! Okay, so remember I was talking about orienteering being the process of having nav points in space using either compass or geopositioning, and being able to move around in an unknown space. So the idea applies much larger, and that is understanding self in self's context, and being able to do that both in present and future tenses. So think of this as not just where am I, but what is my trajectory into my future. In other words, this is Diana Ross, right? This is, do you know where you're going to? Do you like the things that life is showing you? Where are you going to? Do you know? Right? That's this moment of simplifying and paring down the noise to really understand where you are in your context and your momentum and where it leads you for your likely future. I wanted to use the number 4 as the linchpin for this because 4 is the number of greatest stability and power. 4 is the number of greatest stability and power. When you are fully enclosed in walls, north, south, east, west, You contain all things that occur within those walls and amplify and accelerate them. That's gathering forces and allies. Okay. There is some suggested reading. It's listed here. It is also listed in the class material that if you go to the link in Divination Academy that is on the description page for this class, there are links to Google Documents. The Google Documents are the all materials you're seeing here. The class description has all of this suggested reading for you, both the one that we're gonna look at excerpts from Providence tonight, as well as Grant Morrison's The Invisibles. And The Invisibles have several incarnations. There's the original series, then an ancillary series that finalizes and finishes up and ties up all of the kind of loose ends of the narrative. And both are worth reading. You can find them online, full versions for free to read them. This is not a pirated site. Comicextra.com is just a repository. That's it. All of these are not falling within realm where you have to worry about copyright to be able to read them online. Okay. Awesome. One of the suggestions that I have for assisting you in helping work with self-gnosis, self-understanding within our context, and I think it's really important and interesting, Amina, that we've been talking about journaling really all the way up until the point where the class started. And here we are again being thrown on this idea of understanding and mediating self, right? And reflecting self, orienteering, understanding self's context and position. So interesting. But anyways, one of the things that I wanted to add is a suggestion of using aromatherapy with your casting. So the way this can be done is lemon essential oil, black pepper essential oil, rose essential oil, and tomato leaf crushed up in it. You can actually put that in a diffuser by your bed, smell these scents as you're doing your casting, and it will intensify and bump up your experience. Lemon for air, black pepper for fire, rose essential for water, and tomato leaf for earth. Each of these scents has a very close-knit relationship with what we would perceive as an airy element, a fiery element, a watery element, and an earthiness. We want to bring all four of those in so that our beautiful sacred wheel is fully present. Okay. Now here's where Amina and I were talking earlier about understanding synchronicities. And I wanted to just take a couple of pages from Providence and talk about how synchronicities actually play in real life. Things like you make a decision to go and talk to someone, and without even noticing it, the address 317 may actually have interesting and important news or words for us. I think it really interesting that supporters, smallness or fewness, a place that is sown or a field, the westerly direction, a new built thing to beat or pound, and the grave and tomb were the gematria translation of 317, which is a Jewish mystical technique that takes numbers and numeric reductions and assigns them to passages in sacred texts, any sacred text. So you can take any sacred text, reduce it to the numbers, and certain phrases and key phrases and words will have numerical equivalents. these numerical equivalents you can look for in the aspects of what happens in your life. And sure enough, when our protagonist in the book goes to this address and talks to the people there, he winds up having a horrible and horrifying experience, of course, with this erotic sexual zombie, right? Who's God only knows what he's going to do with that big booty, juicy booty of this boy's. But I have a feeling that she's not going to be very nice about it. Anyways, these kinds of stacked synchronicities, and if you look at the materials in the folder, you will see that I give you all kinds of excerpts that all are pretty much geared towards this idea of using an erotic focus to reach higher and higher states of personal gnosis and conscious awareness. Simply bringing your own inner dialogues into light so that that object can be interrogated and understood from your unique perspective. All right. So those are the materials. It is now 9:01. So your takeaway is to take a look at the Sigil 4 weekly material. If they spark an interest, please do check out through the links that are provided the Alan Moore work, and I'm going to go ahead and to make this easy for everyone here, I'm going to stop sharing. And I'm going to throw all of this material into the chat so you can directly copy it in case you don't audit another class. And you'll have access to both the Invisibles and Alan Moore's Illustrated Providence, which are both stories of magical journeys, though they go in very different directions. Awesome. Now let's go ahead and do the work of this class. So I'm going to, this is kind of how we do it. We just take our blank sheet of paper and we focus on this idea of fours, a stable structure, all of the cardinal points, north, south, east, west, orienteering, finding ourselves in our context, standing in our power, and take that sort of aura of thought, emotion, affect, and give it a vehicle, the sigil, which is just 4 lines. So take your pencil to paper, and we're going to do 4 lines. Now, those lines, like I said, they can be anything that moves you. So when you're done, vocalize the word yes, or put the word yes into the group chat so that I know you're done. And when everyone is done, we can move forward with the rest of the class. Okay? Yes, I'm done. Okay. All right. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can share my results.
Wow.
I'm trying to, what really spoke to me this week was gathering forces and allies. And I've been on a healing journey for a couple of weeks from a very severe um, illness and downtime. And I'm not used to that at all. So, what I wanted to really pull into this was all of my, uh, I want all of my energies, I want all my creativity, I want all of my spiritual force, and I want all of my focus to be on recovery and recreating that stable box in the center.
Mhm.
So that was my intent. And then what I'll do, so I want to share with you, this is the start, right? So this is the intent, and this is the first 4 lines. So it's kind of the base template for my sigil. Now, if you've been paying attention to the divination feed, you'll see they don't look like that when I post them. Part of the process that I go through when I cast these, so I've done the sigil. Tomorrow will be the first casting. The day after that will be my first journal entry. Day after that, the second casting. Day after that will be the next journal entry. Day after that, the third casting. Day after that, the last journal entry. And then a next class will come online and we'll move on from 4 to 3. That's why these days are spaced 8 days apart, to give you time to be able to do the sigil, tweak it if you want, cast it, journal, cast, journal, and then
Mhm.
do another class. And one of the things that I do is I'll digitize this. So I'll bring this into Photoshop, PixArt. Sometimes I use Paint, sometimes Paint 3D, and I'll begin zhuzhing and trying to like unbury the deeper narrative for myself of my own intent by adding color, line, adding texture. I'll take stickers. I want, let's see, we're focusing on healing and psychic, like even keel and study and learning, because I want to take 2 certification tests before I return to work. So that's part of this manifestation too, is all of next week and the week after that is going to be focused on study. So I can take these exams and they'll tick off. So I don't have dead time for my work because I'm not working. I'm on medical leave of absence. So I want to knock out those goals from my performance appraisal for this year. Knock them out. Just knock them out. Look at that. I have 2 weeks. I'm flat on my back. I can't do anything. So might as well fucking study during the day and then take these tests. So that's part of, so, right. So take stickers of books and learning and understanding libraries, right? And then twist them and zhuzh them and put them in the background and make them ghost images, and then pull out lines from that and explode those and twirl them and filter them and rehash them, and right, and other, I'll add other details, lens flares and this and that and something else, and I'll pull those out and distort them, but always to focus on the lines of the sigil and to hone down and pare down my intent. That's my process. Your 4 lines, however they are, if you have 4 lines on the page and you cast those 4 lines, you will get results, period. If you do more work with them, I want to add feet. I want to add letters. I want to add numbers. I want to add scents. I want to drip wax all over it and make the lines into wax lines. I want to batik it on a shirt and wear the shirt while I'm doing my masturbatory technique. Blah, 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 blah. The more complex and arbitrary, meaning I just made this choice because. The more arbitrary and complex you can make your sigil, the more powerful it will be. So, knowing that, you guys have your sigils. Awesome. If you care to share them in this context, you can. And I would invite you to take this opportunity now to share your sigil if you want to on cam. If you don't want to, that is completely understood. And we'll call it a day with the actual work of the class, since it's 9:12, and it's time to transition to questions.
I will show mine. I just gotta finish this twist. I was twisting my hair up while you just one second, but I do have mine. I'm at the bottom too. Mine is not anywhere near as beautifully complex and as yours. I love yours so much, my gracious. It all comes with time and practice, I'm sure.
Yes.
Mine actually kind of looks like the Adobe symbol, but it also kind of looks like the two fish kind of thing. I'm just gonna close my eyes and wait for it. But if you can.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Why, thank you. The pen skipped a little bit in there, but you know.
No, I do. And what's really gorgeous about it is how elegant, simple, which is compelling, and organic it feels. It's absolutely, it's going to be a dream to cast because it will be so easy to keep in your imagination and focus on.
Very much.
As a focus of power. Gorgeously done. Awesome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And it kind of looks like a little it looks like a little leaf, like a little sprout. So
That's right.
Giving beginnings.
Looks awesome. Awesome. I can't wait to hear. Hopefully you do a future class and I get to hear how the casting went with this.
Absolutely.
Good. Awesome. So Ksenia, I know that you're having some issues. If you could please just use the chat function to let us know if you're good and you feel like you have any additional questions. If you have no additional questions, I'll go ahead and approach a question that Amina already posed to me.
Is it okay if I will talk? Can anybody hear me?
I can hear you now. Is it okay if what?
If I'll just will say something instead of chat because my nerve got pinched and I cannot use my right arm, unfortunately.
No, I totally understand. That's perfectly fine.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yes, I'm good, and I couldn't draw anything, unfortunately. Hopefully next class, but at least I was able to listen pretty well. So that's good.
Yes. And did I pronounce your name correctly?
Yes. Thank you so much.
Okay, you're so welcome. And I look forward to, of course, seeing you again in a future class. Now that you know how to use the techniques and create a sigil, you can at any time take any intent and draw out a glyph and use this same technique and find your own results. So thank you so much for your attendance, and hopefully I see you again in a future iteration.
Absolutely. Anytime I have time.
Okay, awesome. I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording.